thank you all so much for joining us this evening for a very special celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Fulbright programs. My name is Jeremy Jewett. I'm the Acting Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Kigali, Rwanda. And it is great to have a huge turnout tonight. Thank you so much to those of you that will be joining us in a speaking capacity tonight. Thank you so much to those of you who are Rwandan alumni. Thank you to the US alumni who I see joining us as well as some of our US-based Fulbright colleagues. And special thanks to all of you who are joining this evening as prospective Fulbright applicants eyeing our March 31st deadline for the Fulbright Foreign Student Program here in Rwanda. We are looking forward to first a bit of a formal program here with some formal remarks from Ambassador Vrooman and a few of our prominent Fulbright alumni, and then we're excited to transition the second part of our conversation into a panel with a few recently returned alumni who will be able to provide some perspective for those of you who are prospective applicants who are looking at our March 31st application deadline. Over the course of the evening, please do feel free to use the chat feature to ask any questions or to add any comments that you would like to. But thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And without further ado, it's a pleasure to introduce the U.S. Ambassador to Rwanda, Peter Vrooman. Welcome, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and thank you all Fulbright scholars and potential scholars. It's great to have you here and join us for this virtual celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Fulbright program. It's really quite an amazing accomplishment, and to see that and to have so many fond memories of Fulbrighters who've come to Rwanda, and then American Fulbrighters, and then Rwandans who've gone to the United States. We are joining embassies from around the world in celebrating this milestone over the course of 2021. And in my own personal experience, the Fulbright program is one of my favorite public diplomacy exchange programs. It's one of the most prestigious, but it's also the one that I think enables people to have the really important time in country, connecting with people and being able to develop real scholarship and understanding between our countries. And I'm sure that that is exactly what Senator Fulbright had in mind when this program came into being more than 75 years ago. You know, Fulbright is a program that connects change makers well. So not just scholars, but people who want to put that scholarship to work in their own countries or back in America. And there are many examples of that that are right here and that we'll hear from in the course of our panel discussion today. We're going to hear today some of the success stories from Rwandan alumni who've put their Fulbright experience to great use and value here in service to their country upon return to Rwanda. As the U.S. ambassador to Rwanda, I often see the inbound side of the Fulbright program. And during my time in Rwanda, I've had the honor of meeting so many fascinating U.S. students as well, scholars, researchers, and English teaching assistants. I've invited these Fulbrighters to discussions at the embassy. I remember talking about everything from the situation in neighboring Goma in Eastern Congo to talking about the challenges and opportunities of working with students who are learning English language. I met another student in Musanze learning and working with gorilla doctors on gorilla pathology, and visited her at her place of work with my mother in tow. And my mother, who's an English teacher as well, has worked very closely with a number of the Fulbright English teaching assistants who are probably on this call, including Grace Petty, who I saw the other day here in Kigali. My mother has been somebody I should have invited her as well to today's discussion, because she actually spent more time in the classroom with Fulbright assistants at the American Center and at other locations in Kigali, helping bring experience of our English experience to Rwandan students who are eager to learn or eager to study. So these stories and your stories and the strong interest of many prospective applicants, and I really do encourage you to put your name in the hat and fill out a very compelling story in your application about why it is that you'd like to join the Fulbright program. Please ask questions today, and please take advantage of this, one of our flagship programs for exchange programs between the United States and countries around the world. Thank you very much. I wish you all happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing a little bit of green today, which is also on the Rwandan flag. But thank you very much, Murakoze Chani, and I look forward to hearing and listening to you over the course of this evening's presentation. 75.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. It is a pleasure now to introduce and send it over to my colleague, Jean-Dudu Hakarimana, who is our fantastic English and exchange programs specialist on our public affairs team. One of the familiar faces for those of you who have participated in the program in the past, and someone who can be a great resource to prospective applicants as well. Jado, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. As he said, my name is Jean-Dudu Hakarimana. I'm the cultural affairs specialist, and I mainly focus on exchange programs and alumni coordination. And I'm happy to be joining the Fulbright 75th anniversary. If you did your program between 2010 and 2020, we either met at the embassy during a pre-departure orientation or during a program for alumni. So we're happy to be with some of our prominent alumni here, and join me to welcome Dr. Eugene Mutimura, who is the Executive Secretary for the National Council for Science and Technology, NCST, who also has been the Minister of Education in our country. So Dr. Eugene Mutimura, if you're present, over to you to address great participants today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jado Akulimana, for your good introductions. Your Excellency Ambassador Peter Vorman, Mr. Jeremy, Public Affairs Officer, and colleagues who are joining us this evening for this important 75th anniversary. I would like to say that this is important for us to be joining together a very wide community of Fulbright scholars. And I would like to thank you very much for inviting us to be sharing some of our experiences at this important anniversary. I personally believe that the Fulbright program is one of the most important benefiting programs at scholars, both in Rwanda, but also in the US and globally, in the exchange program that people undergo. Because if you look at the benefit is usually at the individual level in terms of career development and professional growth, which is critically important. I may have time to talk about that very briefly. Secondly, there is a lot of benefit in terms of cultural exchange, friendship between colleagues that meet at a professional level, both in Rwanda, in the US, and elsewhere. And usually the benefit is that you have to ensure that you tie the friendship for a while. And that's what we have done since 2006, when I was a Fulbright scholar at Washington University in St. Louis. I have had friends who have worked with me in Rwanda, and they have traveled back and forth several times. I would give an example. Dr. Patrick Ndimubanzi quite knows that some of the friends that I have worked with since then have been coming over and over, and we are establishing even stronger ties. to develop capacity in Rwanda in terms of training medical professionals in various fields. So I would say that the Fulbright, experience is quite important. I was able to do a lot in terms of enriching my research, capacity, enormous publications towards my doctoral studies, and later on was able to attain several grants through National Institute of Health. And one of the prominent grants, I think, is a D43, which is $1.5 million grant to train Rwandans, among others. But more importantly, I was able to help others from US who have been coming to Rwanda to do their program. I have an example, for instance, Dr. Nathan Lisa, who came to Rwanda to do a Fulbright program on maternal care and outcome related to rural health, maternal health, as well as really, supporting other colleagues in Rwanda to apply for their Fulbright programs, going over to US, learning. But most important experience that I would like to say is that there is a lot of hand opening by colleagues over when you go to the US. Besides the professionalism, besides the training, the research, maybe educational program, you are able to visit them, their homes. You are able to share a lot in terms of cultural benefit, which continues. And as I said, I have several friends who still come over to Rwanda who I visit. And the Bright, I think, for the Fulbright program is quite enormous. And I highly encourage the youngsters to gain this experience because it brightens a person right from the time of application, because it's very competitive, up to the time actually you start delivering on the career growth and professionalism that you gain. I do remember in 2007, when I got one of the most important awards, Abe Chevis Award in California, with tied to funding, tied to a smaller grant, but also tied to some person who would come and train over in Rwanda on HIV cardiometabolics. So I highly encourage colleagues to join the Fulbright program, and I think it's one of the programs that is worthwhile attempting. I thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Eugene Mutimura, for the great remarks. Next, we're also happy to be with Dr. Patrick Ndimubanzi, who is currently the Executive Secretary for Rwanda Human Resources for Health, HRH, and who also has been the State Minister in the Ministry of Health. Dr. Patrick Ndimubanzi, welcome, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jadot. Your Excellency, Ambassador Remy. Thank you for inviting me at the 75th anniversary of the Fulbright program. I was fortunate to be selected in the cohort of 2007, and I must say that it was a fantastic experience. The Fulbright program that was established in 1946 was meant to foster mutual understanding between people. And for me and the friends in my cohort, it helped us make some real bonds. And up to now, we are all linked on the WhatsApp group. So I know what's happening in Mexico, in Venezuela. My roommate was from Indonesia, so I know what's going on in Indonesia in real time. We discussed especially last year, the COVID situation. We will know everything that was happening in real time. So they are good friends. We share the same value, and we have the same aspiration for a better world for our fellow human beings. As Eugene has said, Fulbright is highly competitive and very prestigious. The first time I heard about it, I wasn't interested. I was like, okay, what is this public health thing that I'm going to do? But then when I come to know what it was, I was like, wow, I need to take it seriously. And that next year I applied, and I saw throughout the whole process, I learned so much, and it was great. And here in Rwanda, it's not as competitive as in some other countries. My friends from Brazil and Pakistan were telling me there were like 10,000 of people competing for like what, 100 or even less slots to become a Fulbright. So it's a unique kind of program to be in. And just for the young Fulbrighters in the future, I want to tell them that I graduated as a medical doctor here in Rwanda, and then worked in pediatrics for a while in the main hospital here in Kigali, then joined a research project that was a PMTCT project, a project that meant to prevent the transmission of HIV from mothers to children. And that's what interested me in pursuing a career in research. My first stop from here, after all the hardship of the application process, which I must say was well supported by our personnel at the embassy. They were so kind, so helpful, so diligent to respond to any questions that we had. I went to Mississippi. Mississippi was my first stop. It was July 2007. It was a very hot day. It was 104. So I asked, and they told me it's 104. I said, what's 104 Fahrenheit? They told me it's 40 degrees. I said, man, I'm the one supposed to be coming from Africa, and this sun is too much for me. But then the whole experience was wonderful. Went to places that I did see as a child in cartoons, visited the whole place, and then 3 weeks later traveled to Oklahoma City, with its history. And Oklahoma has been a special place for me. Got to know football, got to go to the stadium and see the Sooners play. So I enjoyed it. And for the academic piece of it, I must say that it was a real treat. For some of the advanced epidemiology programs, I was the only student. So I would go to the office of the head of department, who was her, and have a lecture with her alone. And because she had seen the evolution of the epidemiology, she would tell me all the authors that I would read on the paper. She told, I know this person, this is how he was, and so on. So it was, I felt like a prince with all the training. And I didn't know that all that training that I was acquiring in infectious would actually help me in my future career. Because when I came back, I joined the CDC on the PEPFAR program. And our main objective was to try and control the HIV epidemic, which actually did go well, because even the assessment that we did some years later showed that there was an incredible decrease in the new cases and that people were on treatment. So we had reached the goal of 90 and even exceeded the goal that we have. We are now aiming at the 95, which was great to be part of that. After that, I joined the ministry as a minister of health, and there was a lot of instances where I applied the knowledge I acquired as a Fulbrighter about infectious during the time I served as the Minister of State. There were 2 outbreaks of Ebola in West Africa and then in DRC. So that also contributed a lot to what I would bring on the table, not only as a decision maker, but also having all the technical background that it required to control the epidemic. So all in all, it has been extraordinary for me. But more than anything else, it's about the people that you meet, the friends that you make, and the realization that we are just one humankind globally. I didn't tell you that in Oklahoma, I got the chance to ride on a combine harvesting maize. And that was also something. A friend of ours who had lived abroad, she was from Oklahoma, but she had lived in China. She took her to her dad's farm, which is as large as the entire Kigali. And then we rode on the combine, and it was also a great experience. So for all those who are coming into this adventure, it's a really a wonderful program. it's something that opens a lot of opportunities, but it's also an opening to the rest of the world, not just US, because when you are there, you meet also people who are coming from so many other places. So I thank you for having me on here. And really, if we could say a vote of thanks to the program that has helped us to open our horizon, we are very grateful to the Fulbright program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So great to hear of those fantastic Fulbright experiences. And so glad that you gentlemen have both been able to invest some of those lessons learned here in Rwanda after your return to Rwanda. At this point, with our 7 minutes before we transition to the panel program, we'd love to welcome any Fulbright alumni who would like to introduce themselves, tell us the year they were in the United States and the university of their placement and what they were studying. I think that would be a great tour de force of some of the 75 years of the Fulbright programs, and we'll offer the same to some of our US friends who came to Rwanda as well. So please drop into the chat if you'd like to introduce yourself, or you can raise your hand through the Zoom raise a hand function. We'll go first to Grace Petty. Welcome, Grace. Can you tell us about your Fulbright time here in Rwanda?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Muraho. Hello, hello. I'm chatting from Kachiru. I came to Rwanda in 2018 with Julia and Dennis, who are both in the chat. And I was on a 9-month program teaching English at the American Corner Library in Gishushu at Auka, as well as at the embassy. But I never left Rwanda. I fell in love with the country and all of the work being done here. And so now it's been almost 3 years that I've been living here. And now I teach at African Leadership University in the Free Zone over in Zindiro. So my experience was obviously very, very impactful with Fulbright. And I just want to say thanks to all of the Rwandese here who have welcomed me in your country, and to the embassy staff as well for helping me get started with my my career so far in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. We'll go next to Pamela. Hi, Pamela. Thanks so much for joining us today. Will you tell us about your Fulbright experience?
Hello. My name is Pamela. Sorry, I'm in a very dark room. My name is Pamela Mutasis. I was saying I'm a Fulbright alumni. I joined the Fulbright in 2015. I went to Washington State University and to Ball State University in Indiana. I did actuarial science as a program, which was not popular then. So I don't know if I get to talk about my experience now, but it was quite an amazing experience living in the US. You get to meet a lot of people, as the colleague said before. You meet a lot of people, different nationalities, and it's really a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pamela. We'll turn next to Celestine. Hi, Celestine. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Will you tell us about your Fulbright experience? I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, Celestine.
Hi, everyone. Hi,
that's better.
Yes, okay. I was in US since July 2008, and I left 2017 March. So I stayed there almost 8 years. I was at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, where I studied mechanical engineering, master's and PhD. Basically, regarding experience, so much I can say, but definitely I really had a great experience. We had the organization Fulbrighters, and we still in contact. We traveled around the United States. We had those seminars during my master's. So it was great. So currently now at Sabah University, where I'm assistant professor in railway engineering. Most of our students are from different countries, so it's always looks like a Fulbright thing because we are all of diversity. We have students from Rwanda. We just graduated students, masters. That's it.
Very good. Thank you so much, Celestine, for joining us tonight. Let's go next to Edward. Hi, Edward. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Edward Nyanshuti. I also joined the Fulbright program in 2011. I started my pre-academic program in Nebraska. Then I joined the master's degree in economics in Virginia Commonwealth University. So I learned a lot from that experience, meeting a lot of people, sharing a culture. Then I came back. Then I started supporting here in Rwanda, working in different positions. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Edward. Let's go to Dennis in the United States.
Hello,
hi, Dennis.
good
Thanks
evening.
for joining us
Hey,
today.
Jeremy, how are you? Thank you very much. It's good to see you
Good.
guys.
Will you tell us
again.
about your Fulbright experience here in Rwanda?
Absolutely. So I was there from 2018 to 2019 with Grace and Julia, and my wife Karen was also a Fulbright scholar there. And I worked in internal medicine and primarily at Seashika and Seashube, teaching and research. And I actually continued to do research over there and traveled back twice, but then of course the pandemic kind of put things on hold. But it was a fantastic experience. I love the support there and great friends that we met over time. And my wife and I had such a good experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dennis. And I see one last hand raised at the moment. Hi, Julia. How are you? Can you tell us about your Fulbright time?
Hi. Yes. Hi, everyone. I was also in Rwanda in 2018 to 2019 with Grace and Dennis, and worked with Grace every day at the American Center and the American Corner in Kigali, teaching English. And yes, we had a great experience and fond memories of Rwanda, and I've been missing it a lot lately. Since then, I've been working at a nonprofit focused on infectious disease prevention in Mali in West Africa, but based in Rhode Island in the US. And now I'm working with them remotely and teaching English again in France. So it's been a good mix of things, but I miss Rwanda a lot. So it's fun to see everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Julia. And last but not least, let's go to Wilson. Welcome, Wilson. Thanks so much for joining us today. Can you tell us about your Fulbright experience?
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fulbrighters, Ambassador Vrooman. My name is Wilson Muyenzi. I one of the old Fulbrighters, I think one of the oldest cohorts of the Fulbright program. I went to the US in 2004, and I was there for 2 years. I went to Cornell University in New York, where I studied computer science. And after 2 years, I came back to Rwanda and did lots of different jobs, very prestigious jobs. As Dr. Mutimura said and Dr. Patrick said, there is a unique prestige that comes with being a Fulbrighter. When you come back to Rwanda, everybody's looking for you. And that's what happened. And I had very good experience since then. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Wilson. I have reason to reassure you that you are not likely to be the oldest Fulbright alum here in Rwanda. Our first program participant from Rwanda went to the United States in 1964. Unfortunately, Our records don't allow us to track him or her down, but somewhere out there, there is someone that has a whole lot of experience, and I'm sure put that Fulbright experience to great use. Thank you all so much for volunteering a little bit about your experiences. Thank you, Ambassador Vrooman, and all of our speakers today. We want to thank you so much for adding your perspectives to our Fulbright ceremony today.